Okay, good morning everyone. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about root locus. Right. Whenever we started in stability analysis classes, what the stability analysis classes is that we are having different stability methods, right? RH criteria, root locus, bold plot, Nyquist plot, polar plot, like that. We are having different methods. We are having. Here we are going to discuss about an root locus. Already we know that RH criteria. The difficulty of that RH criteria or the limitation of that RH criteria is that by using that RH criteria, we are not able to find the exact location of the holes. We are not able to find the exact location of the holes. But by using a root locus, we are going to find from which point to which point the system is stable, and for which point to which point to the system is unstable. We are going to discuss. Here, root locus. What is meant by root locus? Root locus is nothing but it is a path of the roots of the characteristic equation. Already we know that the characteristic equation is nothing but 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. We know that this is an 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. That is a root locus characteristic equation. Any characteristic equation we are going to consider 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. Now how we are going to tell, how we are going to define when a root locus is nothing but the root locus is nothing but it is in a path. It is a path. It is in a path of the roots of the roots. Path of the roots. It is a path of the roots. Already we are calculating. If this is a characteristic equation, then we are going to get some roots. The root locus is a path of the roots of the characteristic equation. Path of the roots of the which from where we are getting these roots. It is a path of the roots of the characteristic equation. Characteristic equation, that is that 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0, right? And that roots will be going to be traced in an S plane. That roots how the roots will be traced from 0 to infinity. The roots will be going to be travel from 0 to infinity. 0 to infinity. That means how we are going to define a root locus is nothing but the root locus is nothing but it is a path of the roots. It is a path of the roots. How the roots will be going to be travel from 0 to infinity. To, from where we are getting the roots is nothing but from the characteristic equation. From the characteristic equation, that is 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. It is a path of the roots of the characteristic equation which are traced from 0 to infinity. Right? Here having this is a root locus. The basic definition of root locus is that it is a path of the root locus. It is a path of the roots. Locus is nothing but just it is a path of the roots. For example, you are having 10 roots. 10 roots is 1 root is minus 2, minus 4, and plus 2, 1. Like this, these 4 are there. But from where to where, how it will be going to when travel is nothing but they are having here some path. That path we are going to identify by the root locus. Root locus is nothing but it is a path of the roots of the characteristic equation where the roots will be travels from 0 to infinity, where the roots will be going to be moves from 0 to infinity. That is the basic definition of a root locus. Right. For example, if we are already we know that we are know that for example, if you are having something like this, consider the system as shown in the figure. For example, just you can take it. And taking that, this is a plus minus, and here we are having the g of s. We are having g of s, which we are having. This is our output c of s. Here we are having h of s. Already we discussed these things in the last classes. Now what is that closed loop transfer function for this? This is a feedback closed loop transfer function. This is we are having an RF. Which type of feedback? Negative feedback system. For the negative feedback system, what is the transfer function we are going to get? C of S by R of S is equal to, we are going to get the negative transfer function G of S divided by 1 plus G of S into H of S. 1 plus G of S into H of S. C of S by R of S is equal to, we are going to get G of S divided by 1 plus G of S. Then when we are going to write the from this the characteristic equation, what is the characteristic equation? 1 plus G of S into H of S is equal to 0. This is a characteristic equation. From that we are going to get G of S into H of S is equal to minus 1. G of S into H of S is equal to minus 1. Since G of S into H of S is a complex quantity, it can be split into an angular magnitude plot. This G of S into H of S is a complex quantity, so that we can convert that into an angular magnitude. It means that the angle of G of S, H of S, what is this angle? The angle of G of S into H of S is equal to minus 1. What is this angle? What is that angle is plus or minus 180. We are going to find plus or minus 180 into 2k plus 1. Plus or minus 180 into 2k plus 1. Where k equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. And magnitude will be, and what is the magnitude? It will become mod of G of S into H of S will be equal to 1. The magnitude is 1 and the angle will be equal to plus or minus 180 into 2k plus 1, where k it will be going to, when it starts from 1 to 3. The values of S that fulfill both the angle of magnitude, these two conditions must be satisfied. Then only we can apply the root locus. The angle will be, the magnitude will be an 1 and the angle will be an plus or minus 180 into 2k plus 1. Then only we can apply the root locus condition. First I will tell that rules of the root locus, then we will go with one problem also. First rules. There are whenever we are doing something, definitely we need to follow. He is a scientist. Root even root locus. Even root. That means we need to follow some rules. What is the first rule? Step 1 is nothing but first you need to identify the first thing in the first step in constructing a root locus plot is you need to locate the open loop poles and zeros in an S-plane. Right? What is in an S-plane? For example, we need to locate the poles and zeros. Poles and zeros on an S-plane. What is the poles and zeros? For example, first rule 1 or step 1, that means location of poles and zeros. Location of poles and zeros. Let us consider a transfer function G of S into H of S. Let us consider a transfer function G of S into H of S is equal to k divided by S into S plus 1, S into S plus 1 into S plus 3. Let us consider G of S into H of S is equal to k divided by S into S plus 1 into S plus 3. What is it shows that now you need to identify the poles and zeros. How many poles and zeros are there means we have to know that the poles zeros is nothing but from the numerator we are getting the zeros. From the denominator we are going to get the poles. The roots of the numerator we call it as zeros and the roots of the denominator we call it as poles. How many poles are there? So what is this? S is equal to 0 is 1 pole, S is equal to minus 1 another pole, S is equal to minus 3 is another pole. We are having 3 rows. Now we need to find that you need to locate the location of the poles. Location of the poles. We need to take an like this. Now, what is this diagram shows the? What is this diagram shows that? This is a 0. After this here we are having minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. Here 1, 2, 3. This is a j, 2j, 3j, minus j, minus 2j, and minus 3. Like this we are having. Right. Now, whenever we are having like this, now you need to locate the poles and zeros. What will be happen? Now, what is the pole? This is equal to 0. You remember that? I am going to write here. Poles are represented with star mark. Zeros are represented with 0. Poles are represented with star mark and zeros is represented with 0. 0 is represented with 0. Poles are represented with poles and zeros are represented with 0. Now, what is this? First pole is s is equal to 0. Yes, I identified. And second pole is s is equal to minus 1. Okay. S is equal to minus 3. That is the first step. Whenever we are giving an root locus problem, then you need to do that. The first step is you need to identify the location of poles and zeros. Location of poles and zeros. That is the first step. Okay. Now coming to location of poles and zeros, just you need to find out how many poles are there and how many zeros are there, and then you need to draw a graph. On a graph, you need to draw the poles and zeros. That is the first step. If there is no zero, no problem. If it is zeros, then again you need to identify the zeros also in that S plane. You need to represent with an 0. This is we are going to get like this. Next one, what is the next thing we are having? Step 2, determine the root locus on the real axis. Rule 2. Rule 2 is that determine the root locus. Determine the root locus on the real axis. It is very important. Determine the root locus on the real axis. Determine the root locus on the real axis. Determine the root locus on the real axis. How many poles are there? 3 poles. Now, real axis is nothing but only this is and we call it as a real axis. This is we call it as a real axis. This axis we call it as a real axis. This is your real axis. Only explain that we are going to tell this is an x-axis and this is an y-axis. This is we call it as a real axis. Now what we are going to find? Determine the root locus on the real axis. Determine the root locus on the real axis. How we are going to tell whether the root locus will be present on the root locus or not. Now you see that this is a one pole at 0. Onto 0 on the left half of this plane. Onto that 0 to that this is a pole. You consider that pole and you consider that left hand side of that particular pole. Left hand side of that particular pole. Left hand side of that particular pole. Then how many poles and zeros? The combination of poles and zeros present on the real axis only. Present on the real axis. How many poles and zeros are there? If you are considering this is a pole, that means this is one pole onto the real axis. You need to consider on the right hand side how many poles and zeros. There is no poles and zeros. 0 is an even number, so this will be a no root locus part. Whatever you consider that pole or 0, you consider anything. If the 0 is in the root locus, then also you need to consider, right? If there is no poles and zeros on the right half of this, on the left half of that particular pole, that means that 0 is an even. If there is an even number, in that particular period, in that particular path, there is no root locus. Now you consider -1 is your location. Again you consider on the left hand side of that -1. You consider on the left hand side of that -1. That means how many poles and zeros are there on the left hand side of -1? Poles and zeros. You are having only one pole, so that you are having one is an odd number, so that here the root locus will be exist. Again you come to -3. Now you check on the left hand side, left of that -3, how many poles and zeros are there? On the left side of -3, how many poles and zeros are there? 2. So that we are having here 2 is an even number, so no root locus. Again, consider one more point at -4. For example, take this is a -4. -4 to the left hand side, you need to check how many poles and zeros are there to the -4. Only we are having 3. 3 is an odd number, so the root locus will be this is an root locus will be exist. Just you need to concentrate. You consider any point, you consider that any point on the real axis, and you need to check from that point to the left hand side of that particular point. If the number of poles and zeros are odd number, so that the root locus will be exist. Otherwise, there is no root locus. There is no root locus. Just to consider any points. For example, we are taking here I mentioned. Okay. Now I am going to explain with some another example here. We will take one more thing here. See here. Now what will be happen here? I am taking like this. Okay. Here you are having two poles. One more 0 also is there. Now we can say that you need to identify after this point we take -1, -2, -3. Okay. Now we need to check after -1 left hand side all the up to this particular point how many poles and zeros are there? Poles and zeros on the real axis only. If there is poles and zeros here also, we are not going to consider all these things. Only on the real axis only you need to consider. How many poles and zeros on the real axis there are to this point? 0, no root locus. What about this? Root locus. Why? Because only one it is there. What about this? No root locus. 2 is there. What about this? This will be an root locus. 1, 2, 3. 3 is an odd number. So root locus will be exist. That is the concept of root locus on the real axis. Root locus on the real axis. The third step is angle of asymptotes and centroid. Angle of asymptotes and angle of asymptotes and centroid. Angle of asymptotes and centroid. What is an angle of asymptotes? Angle of asymptotes is nothing but in the root locus itself. We know that root locus is in a path. The roots are, that means, and how the roots will be going to travel from 0 to infinity. Whenever the roots will be going to travel like that, then definitely that will be going with some angle. That angle we need to identify. That angle we are going to find out an angle of asymptotes. Angle of asymptotes. How many angle of asymptotes will be there? For example, you are having a first one angle of asymptotes. We need to come to angle of asymptotes. How many angle of asymptotes will be there? For example, you are having 4 poles and 1 0. How many angle of asymptotes will be there? Means P minus Z angle of asymptotes. P minus Z, which is equal to 4 minus 1. That means we are having 3 angle of asymptotes. 3 angle of asymptotes will be there. P minus Z. Now, how we are going to find that angle of asymptotes? There is a one formula to find the angle of asymptotes is theta is equal to 2q plus 1. Theta is equal to 2q plus 1 into 180 divided by p minus z. This is the formula for angle of asymptotes. The angle of asymptotes formula is theta equal to 2q plus 1 into 180 divided by p minus z, where q will be starts from where q equal to 0, 1, 2, plus 1. That means 2q plus 1, q is 0, 1, 2, p minus z means number of poles minus z. How many, for example, this is the formula we are having 2q plus 1 into 180 divided by p minus z. That means 3 asymptotes we need to take. That means the q value of 2, you need to take q equal to 0, 1, 2. 3 asymptotes. For example, in this case, if you are having a 4 number of poles and 1, 0, you need to take only up to these 3 only. Now, that is an angle of asymptotes formula. Next one, centroid. Angle of asymptotes. Next one is we are having a centroid. What is a centroid? How we are going to find the centroid? Centroid, again we are having a formula, that is an centroid sigma is equal to summation of poles minus summation of zeros divided by number of poles minus number of zeros. Number of poles minus number of zeros. Right? Number of poles minus number of zeros. Now we take one example to find this angle of asymptote and centroid. What is that example? We take a transfer function here. Transfer function is 1 by s plus 1 into 1 plus 1 by s plus 1 into s plus 2. This is one example. 1 by s plus 1 into 1 by s plus 1 into s plus 2. Right. This is the transfer function. Now, how many? What is the centroid? What is the how many angle of asymptotes we are going to get? P is equal to what? P equal to 2. Z equal to how much? Z is nothing but number of zeros. Number of zeros is from where we are going to get the zeros? From the numerator. So we are going to get 0. Now what is the P minus Z value? P minus Z equal to 2 minus 0, which is equal to 2 asymptotes we are going to get. 2 asymptotes means we need to take Q equal to 0 and 1. What is the asymptote formula? Theta 1, we need to calculate theta 1. That means 2Q, Q value 0 plus 1, 2Q plus 1 divided by P minus Z. P minus Z value how much? 1 by P minus Z means 2 minus 0, that is 2 into 180. How much you are going to get? 180 divided by 90 degrees. Similarly, theta 2. Theta 2 means 2 into 1 plus 1 divided by 2 into 180. We are going to get 180 degrees. We are going to get 180 degrees. We are going to get 180 degrees. That is the two angle of asymptotes. Theta 1 into theta 2. Theta 1 into theta 2. The next one we are having we calculated that asymptotes, angle of asymptotes, theta 1 and theta 2. Next, how we are going to find the centroid. To find the centroid, what is the formula I given? Summation of poles minus summation of zeros divided by number of poles minus number of zeros. What is the poles we are having? S is equal to minus 1, S is equal to minus 2, S is equal to minus 1, and S is equal to minus 2. These are the two poles we are having. Now, what is the summation of centroid? Centroid is equal to summation of poles minus 1 plus minus 2. Okay, whole divided by number of poles. How many poles are there? 2. 2 minus number of zeros. How many zeros are there? 0. That means minus 1 minus 3 by 2, which is equal to minus 1.5. This value we call it as a centroid. That particular value we call it as a centroid. Where the angle of asymptotes we are going to now, in this graph we need to Draw that you need to identify that in the graph also you need to identify where is the you indicate this is a sigma, there is a minus 1.5, that we call it as a centroid. Now we completed three steps in an root locus. There are different steps we need to know. If and only if we know that all the three rules, all the rules of the root locus, then only we can go for a root locus problem. Without knowing these steps, we are not able to go with the root locus. The first thing we have to know that what is a root locus. Root locus is nothing but it is a path of the roots of the characteristic equation. You don't forget what is the characteristic equation. 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. If you are taking that, then you are getting some roots. Then you are going to draw the roots with respect to you are going to. It is a path of the roots of the characteristic equation, right? Once if you are getting an indicating from 0, it will be varies from 0 to infinity. The first step of root locus is identifying a number of poles and zeros. From where we are going to get the zeros and where we are going to get the poles, we need to identify. Poles are from the numerator, from the denominator we are going to get poles, and from the numerator we are getting the zeros. From the denominator we are going to get the poles. Once if you are getting the poles and zeros, you need to identify the poles and zeros on the real axis, and then the second step is root locus on the real axis. That is a very very important concept. The root locus on the real axis is nothing but how the roots will be. That means you consider only on the real axis, and the real axis you need to check on the right half of on the right hand side of the particular point. Sorry, on the right hand side of the particular point, how many roots will be present. If that poles and zeros, the combination of poles and zeros is odd, that means the root locus will be exist. Otherwise, there will be no root locus. And third point is that we discuss an angle of asymptotes and centroid. Now, what is an angle of asymptote is nothing but with how much angle the roots will be going to and moves from one place to another place. That is an angle of asymptotes. For example, you are having an p number of poles. That means an 4 number of poles and 1 number of 0. That means how many angle of asymptotes will be there? 3 asymptotes are there. To find the angle of asymptotes, we are having a formula, that is a q equal to 2q plus 1 into 180 divided by p minus z, where q will be starts from 0, 1, 2 and so on. We can take. Right? If there is a 4 poles, that means you need to take q value up to 3. Why? Because it is starting from 0, 1, 2, 3. And similarly, the centroid formula we are having. Centroid formula is a summation of poles minus summation of zeros by number of poles minus number of zeros. We need to take, and we are going to apply this. Thank you. In the next class, we will discuss some other ones.